Kicking off the list at number 10, True Way. There was once a UFO religion from Taiwan that predicted the end of the world. I forgot to tell you to put on your tinfoil hats for this one, sorry. Of course I have to kick off our part 2 with this one. True Way religion mixes Christianity, Buddhism, Taiwanese folk religion, and UFO conspiracy all together. Just a potluck of fun ideas. How great is that? We love it. Leader Han Ming-chen believed that the end of the world was near, as do many others on this list. He preached that God would appear on US national television, of course on Channel 18, not HBO, Channel 18, very specific. He believed that Jesus would return on March 25th, 1988 to announce that he would officially return in the following week. So he would come and say, hey, see you in a bit, and then disappear again. It's a pretty wild prediction. The following year, he then preached that millions of devil spirits and a massive flood would result in the mass extinction of the human population. Nice, you're either gonna die by a flood or by demons. 50-50 at that point on the horrible demise. It sounded pretty frightening to some, but Han Ming-chen had a plan to save those who followed him and his beliefs. How convenient, the man with a plan. All you had to do was pay a large fee to then board a spacecraft disguised as a cloud that would of course then be sent to rescue them. Yeah, it gets crazier, believe it or not. Number 9, Millerism. Religious leader William Miller started preaching in 1831, and he believed the world was going to end, so now everybody else around him also had to as well. According to him, the end times would come within the second coming of Christ, and that he would return in 1843. Again, we love a heads up. That's a proper prediction. Give us a year or a week or a month, then we'll believe you. This prediction led Miller to gaining 100,000 followers, in real life mind you, and they all believed that in the end they too would be carried off to heaven with William Miller. Obviously the world didn't end in 1843, Miller recalculated and then instead predicted the end of the world would actually happen the following year in 1844. Yeah, classic. He's like, nah, just keep waiting a bit more. We're like, come on Miller. You're teasing us. Documents were found in one of Miller's followers who wrote about his experience waiting for the predicted events to unfold, and he seemed a little, dare I say, pissed off that nothing ever happened. And you know what? I would be upset too if someone was convincing me the world was gonna end, and then all of a sudden they're like, actually no, it's next year. I'm just kidding. I'm like, guy, I just spent all of my money. I left my family. What are we doing here? Number 8, the Prophet Hen of Leeds. Nostradamus who? We have a prophet hen now, okay? Step your game up. Step your animal game up. That's right, a barnyard animal was warning humanity of the end of all times. This all began in 1806 in Leeds, England. There once lived a chicken who laid quite the egg. Apparently on the eggshells were messages that read how, Christ is coming back. He's coming back. Yeah, I'm more of a scrambled eggs kind of guy, but these are cool too, I guess. These are cool eggs. The hen got pretty famous, obviously. Once word got out, people began to travel far and wide to see this miracle for themselves. But then next came the panic, right? Then they began worrying about this impending doom, but fear not. See, this chicken was in fact a fraud. He's a liar. He's a liar chicken. You liar. Well, no, the owner was a liar, but still. Guilty by association, pal. You're an accomplice. No, the chicken was very innocent here. Yeah, the owner had been writing on the eggs, and then they put the eggs back in the chicken to make it seem like the chicken had just had said eggs when company arrives. Yeah, pretty horrible, right? I'm surprised it took that long to catch on, to be honest. I'd be like, hey, maybe he's doing, I don't know, maybe he's putting the eggs back in. Just a guess. Number 7, the second beast. Yeah, just when you thought it was safe, a second beast shows up. There we go. I've lost track at this point. Giants, locusts, whenever it does happen, it doesn't sound like it's going to be a great time. Let's be honest here. Biblical beasts would be a way to go out. That would be an epic way, that's for sure. The first beast came out of the sea, but the second beast, that one came from the earth. Yeah, sneak attack, hidden in Revelation 13:11. Then I saw another beast rising out of the earth. It had 2 horns like a lamb, and it spoke like a dragon. Yeah, it sounds like the devil. Sounds like you're talking about the devil. Hiding in the earth, I mean, who else could it be? There's Jesus from up there, so big bad's gotta live, down there. The second beast isn't described as well in detail, but it did cause fire to fall from the sky, and it liked to mark people with the mark of the beast. But fire from the sky, that reminds us of something. Reminds me of something that happened back in 1666. Let's talk about it. Number 6, the Great Fire of London. Back in the 1600s, London saw quite the blaze, the Great Fire of 1666. Now, in the Bible, it references the number 666 as the number of the beast, living in the depths below, right? We just saw him, the two-horned fella we just mentioned, right? Hiding down below, waiting, the second beast, waiting for the sneak attack. So many Christians in Europe back in the 1600s believed that the world was going to end in 1666. It's kind of like our version of the Mayan calendar debacle back in 2012. The thing is, the Great Fire actually happened that year. Yeah, pretty scary. September 2nd to September 5th, the blaze destroyed the city, including 87 churches and 13,000 homes. Many saw this as the prophecy of the end of the world coming true, right? Obviously, you look around and it sure looks like it. But on the bright side of all this, pun not intended, with all the property damage, the death toll for this Great Fire was relatively low. It was only 10 people that lost their lives. That's less than half the lives lost in Salem witch trials in comparison, so could be worse, could be a lot worse, but still definitely a biblical ending for 10 folks, which is pretty tragic. Number 5, the Great Flood. This one is most likely how we'll all meet our collective demise. Back in the 1500s, German mathematician and astrologer Johann Stoffler, he predicted that a great flood would cover the world and result, of course, in the death of humanity as we know it. Yeah, how fun is that? And like any great prediction, he even pinpointed a specific date. We love those. Again, we love warnings. Give us some time. Thank you. Let us pack our February 25th, 1524. This is when all of the planets would be aligned under Pisces, a water sign. So, flooding, you see the connection, right? Obviously someone put this together, thought they were a genius. Soon after he made this prediction, hundreds of pamphlets were spread around warning of this great flood. And as you can imagine, this caused a lot of panic to follow. Yeah, pamphlets go way back, eh? People have been giving those out for a while. Gotta do, let's top 10 oldest pamphlets. That'd be one. A German nobleman believed this, maybe a little too much, and he gathered all of his resources to build a 3-story ark. Yeah, the guy went full on Noah for this doomsday prediction. But I mean, can you blame him? Pamphlets, everyone's talking about it, I'd believe it too. In the end though, when the day did arrive, February 25th, 1524, it did rain, but it was a light one at most. No flooding going on in this town. Not yet, at least. Number 4, vampires. Vampires were mentioned in around 50 verses from the Bible. Yeah, can you believe that? Of course, this is an ongoing argument because the verse, there are those whose teeth are swords, whose fangs are knives, to devour the poor from the earth, the needy among mankind. Many believe it's not actually vampires here that's being referenced and rather just the wealth of the people that's being devoured. No actual, like blood sucking is actually going on. But I don't know, sea monsters, locusts, multiple horned demons, the devil, it sounds like vampires would be the least of our concerns, if I'm being honest. The 4 beasts of Daniel or Edward Cullen. I don't know, I could probably take them. Just get everything done during the day and wear tons of silver. Easy, I can do that. That's like Johnny Depp now. He goes out when it's just, sunlight. Wears a lot of silver. Is he a vampire? Johnny Depp's a vampire. I just realized. Number 3, Nephilim. There it is. The E in the I before E except the Nephilim. The Nephilim are demigods. They were described, of course, as being gigantic and scary in size. And in Genesis 6:14, they're mentioned as such. When people began to multiply on the face of the ground, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that they were fair, and they took wives for themselves of all that they chose. Then the Lord said, My spirit shall not abide in immortals forever, for they are flesh. Their days shall be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterwards when the sons of God went into the daughters of humans, who bore children to them. These were the heroes that were of the old, warriors of the renown. So these sons of God, these fallen ones, many believe are not the greatest. They're fallen sons like Lucifer, right? Number 1333, there's a passage that says, And there we saw the Nephilim, and we seemed to ourselves like grasshoppers, and so we seemed to them. Yeah, giants, grasshoppers, Lucifer, whatever's going on here, I'm all set. I would rather drown in the flood. Number 2, Mayan calendar. It's 2022, which means the world thankfully did not end in 2012. But the Mayan calendar predicted that on December 21st, 2012, this would be, a great doomsday. I remember I was alive during this. I was like 17. I was kind of worried, I'm not gonna lie. No meteors hit, Thanos didn't snap any of us away, nothing happened, but that date did mark the end of their 5,125-year-long calendar count. Yeah, and you thought you were a planner? Meet the Mayans. The Mayan calendar is extremely accurate, right? So that's why we kind of believed all this. Their calendar is 10,000ths of a day more exact than the calendar that we use today. Yeah, we have leap years to try and smooth it out. It's hard working out time, Planets and all that jazz, how did they do it? We have no idea. They used 20-day months and they had 2 calendar years. They had a 260-day sacred round and then a 365-day year. Every 52 years, these 2 calendars would coincide with one another, and this was referred to as a bundle, which is the Mayan equivalent to our century. Do you think their calendar was off? Is the end of the world around the corner? Many believe that it's actually going to happen soon, and that the 2012 was going to happen in 2022. And finally, number 1, the 4 beasts of Daniel. Damn, Daniel, back at it again with revelations and eating the world and destroying everything we know and love. We'll end this list off with a foreign one, because I'm nice like that. Of course, many of these endings to our big blue beautiful world involve a beast or 2, or a demon of some sorts, or just the devil more often than not. While the biblical 4 beasts of Daniel sound like they have some bang behind their buck, that's for sure. These entities are described as lions with eagle's wings. There's also a bear, and there's a leopard, and there's a 4th beast that is a complete mystery. Yeah, mystery beasts that could swallow the planet. We love those here at MA. The bear has 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth, so that's a pleasant image to imagine when referencing such an animal. The leopard also has wings. Good stuff, so you can't outrun that one, as well as 4 heads. Again, good stuff. Now I've lost that's like 8 heads now? What are we at? The mysterious 4th beast is full of horns, and it's got iron teeth and 10 horns. That's so many horns, that's so many spikes. The 4 beasts symbolize the great 4 kingdoms, but the ribs and the teeth thing, that's gonna be in my head rent-free, that's for sure. Thank you so much for watching. Those are the top 10 biblical end-of-the-world prophecies that might still come true. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm Taylor McWaters. See ya. Kicking off our list at number 10, artificial intelligence. This one sounds silly, but we're actually quite close to Ultron in real life. Nice. We have robots that do parkour. You can push these things around and they'll still continue to do their little silly robot walk. Robots are so scary. Now, imagine Siri if she decided to go rogue one day and take over the body of one of these Boston Dynamic parkour robots. Then what? It's game over. I've seen iRobot, okay? I don't want any part of this future. According to CB Insights, where they asked 52 experts, they all agreed that AI will eventually be our downfall, and by that time it'll be too late. Even the late Stephen Hawking said AI would be impossible to control. Elon Musk, he's been reinforcing how crucial it is right now to regulate AI. We can't regulate technology that we can't predict. Elon Musk. Number 9. Apophis. Yeah, we thought the world was going to end in 2012 and the Mayan calendar tipped us off, thank you for that. But luckily nothing happened. They even made a movie about it. John Cusack got a paycheck all for nothing. All because of the Mayan calendar. Well, we might be seeing another disaster movie in 8 years, with the asteroid Apophis coming close. It's in the category of potentially hazardous asteroids, and on April 13th, 2029, it's gonna barely miss Earth in its passing. And around 2 billion people will be able to witness the possible end with their naked eye. Yeah, it's that close. An asteroid might hit us on Friday the 13th in 2029. Scientists were actually unsure about if this thing would hit or not, and even to this day, Earth's gravitational pull may just influence this near miss. So it might actually hit us. Who knows? Fingers crossed. Number 8. Yellowstone National Park. Nothing like a big old volcano to shake up your day. Sweet. The super volcano rumbling under Yellowstone National Park could wipe out millions any second. It's exploded 3 times in the past. Once 2 million years ago, once 1 million years ago, and then once 664,000 years ago. And the next one, well, could happen as soon as you click like and subscribe. Yeah, could happen right now. Back in 2014, a team of researchers laid out what an erupting Yellowstone would actually look like in real life, and it's horrifying. It's massive. Entire states would be gone just like that. Hot magma would rain down as far as San Francisco, so it'd be Pompeii all over again. And on top of all that chaos, volcanic ash would cover most of our sunlight, so bye-bye crops and tan lines. It would be a dark and cold world for a little while. They of course had a Yellowstone scene in the movie 2012, the classic John Cusack one I just mentioned, and while it's cinematic, I guess, it would be a lot louder and way faster, okay? Number 7. True Way. There was a UFO religion from Taiwan that predicted the end of the world. True Way religion mixes Christianity, Buddhism, Taiwanese folk religion, and UFO conspiracy theories all balled into one to create this way of belief. And their leader, Han Ming-chen, believed that the end of the world was near. He preached that God himself would appear on US national television, on channel 18, very specific, on March 25th, 1988, all to announce that he would be returning to Earth in the following week. The following year, he preached that millions of devil spirits, as well as massive floodings, would result in the mass extinction of the human population. It sounded pretty alarming, of course, but Han Ming-chen had a plan to save those who followed him and his beliefs. He told his followers that to save themselves from this horrible fate, they could pay to board a spacecraft disguised as a cloud that would then be sent to rescue them. Number 6. Harold Camping. Harold here was obsessed with trying to predict the end of the world. He publicly predicted the end of the world at least 12 times, and he even published a book in 1992 titled 1994, where of course he predicted that the world would end sometime around that year. Now, seeing as I was born that year, I'd say we're all good 27 years later. He based his predictions on biblical numerology, but it wasn't exactly accurate. His most high-profile prediction of the end of the world was May 21st, 2011, exactly 7,000 years after the biblical flood. But when that day passed and everything was, still not submerged in seawater, he readjusted his prediction, saying that his math was actually off and the world would actually end on October 21st, 2011 instead. Number 5, sun gamma bursts. Our sun is hot, she's bumping, she's keeping us alive, getting us, well, certainly not me, still pale in August, but she's helping out some of us. The northern lights are a fun result from cosmic activity, but can we handle any more than that beauty? When we look at extinction level events like, say, a meteor hitting the planet, we can bounce back from that, right? Not dinosaurs, but humans, sure, we have a fighting chance. When it comes to gamma rays hitting the planet, that's kind of it, guys, not gonna lie to you. Unless you're the Incredible Hulk and you soak it all up, you're not gonna have a pleasant go. Gamma rays happen when stars explode in distant galaxies. Light and energy then shoots out, along with radio waves, neutrinos, and gamma rays, just a cosmic confetti of all shapes and sizes, and all that good space stuff travels light years through space, and if they were to hit Earth, our ozone would just be toast forever. We would be engulfed in a chemical smog. Number 4. Passing asteroids. On August 16th, 2020, a small asteroid shot past our planet, barely 3,000 kilometers above Earth's surface. That's really close. God, how did we not hear about this more? We may not even see it coming either. That's the scary thing. This August asteroid was only discovered a few hours after it made its close call to Earth. So even if it did hit Earth, we wouldn't even, there'd be no tip-off. We would just all of a sudden not exist. So that's probably ideally the best way to go. I don't know. Number 3. Millerism. Religious leader William Miller started preaching in 1831 that the world was going to end. According to him, the end times would come within the second coming of Christ and that he would return in 1843. This prediction led Miller to gaining 100,000 followers, in real life of course, and they believed that in the end, they too would be carried off to heaven with William Miller. Nice, just how we want to go. Obviously, the world didn't actually end in 1843. Miller recalculated, and instead, he then predicted that the end of the world and Jesus' second coming would happen the following year, in 1844. Documents were found on one of Miller's followers who wrote about his experience waiting for the predicted events to unfold, and he seemed a little upset that nothing happened. It's kind of funny to look back on. The follower, a man named Henry Emmons, wrote, and I quote, "I waited all Tuesday, and dear Jesus did not come. I lay prostrate for 2 days without any panic, sick with disappointment." End quote. Number 2. A great fire. Back in the 1600s, London saw quite the blaze, and it was predicted long before, as are most of these catastrophic events. The Great Fire of 1666. Nice, 666, devil, nice, hit that subscribe button. In the Bible, it references the number 666 as the number of the beast, living in the depths below. So many Christians in Europe at the time, back in the 1600s, believed that the world was going to end in 1666. It's kind of like our version of the Mayan calendar debacle in 2012. The thing is, the Great Fire actually happened that year. Yeah, September 2nd to September 5th, the blaze destroyed the city, including 87 churches and 13,000 homes. Many saw this as the prophecy of the end of the world coming true, but on the bright side of all this, pun not intended, with all the property damage, the death toll for this Great Fire was relatively low. Only 10 people died, which is actually insane when you think about it. And finally, number 1, the Great Flood. This one is most likely how we will meet our collective demise. Here we go. Hope you got your water wings. Back in the 1500s, German mathematician and astrologer Johann Stoffler predicted that a great flood would cover the world and result, of course, in the death of humanity and all of our loved ones as we know it. He even pinpointed a date, February 25th, 1524. This was when all the planets would be aligned under Pisces, which was a water sign, so you obviously see where I'm heading with this one. Soon after he made this prediction, hundreds of pamphlets were spread around warning of this great flood, and as you can imagine, this caused immediate panic. A German nobleman believed this, maybe a little too much, and he gathered all of his resources to build a 3-story ark. He went full-on Noah for this doomsday prediction. He had a 3-story ark built, and in the end though, when the day of February 25th, 1524 arrived, it rained. And that's about it. Yeah, it was a light one at most. No flooding going on here. I'm Taylor McWaters. Those are the top 10 dark predictions that prove the world will end in the next 50 years. I hope I'm wrong. See you next time. Bye.
At number 10 now, we're going to start with the one a lot of you guys might remember, 2012. December 21st, 2012 was the day that the ancient Mayan calendar would end and a new one would begin. Now some people took this to mean there would be a spiritual transition for the world, others thought it would mean the literal end of it. The theories for this range from giant tidal waves to crust-shattering earthquakes. There was also the belief that the Earth was going to collide with a mysterious planet X, or that the magnetic poles would shift on Earth. It was all pretty crazy stuff, but it caught on so much they even made it into a movie called 2012. Some of you guys may have seen it. Doesn't really have the same appeal now that we all survived it. Coming at number 9 now, we have the Prophecy Hen of Leeds. I love this one. Back in 1806, in the city of Leeds in England, a lot of people were convinced the world was gonna end. They thought this because it was written on the freshly laid eggs of some hens. This is actually true. People from all over England went to visit Mary Bateman, whose hens were said to be laying eggs with the phrase "Christ is coming" on them. People believed that this was a prophecy of doomsday, that Jesus was going to come back and start the end times. Well, 1806 came and went, and the egg's words didn't actually come true. That's because Mary Bateman had faked them. She would write the messages on the egg and then insert them back up into the hens. I don't think the victims in this were the ones who believed all of it. I think it was the poor hens. Alright, coming out at number 8 now, we have Y2K. Now a lot of you guys may be too young to remember this, but in the run up to the new millennium in 1999, a lot of people were scared of Y2K. Experts have pointed out that a lot of computers in the world weren't actually programmed to handle the change in date from 1999 to 2000. It sounds kind of stupid now, but it's true. Some people thought that this would bring the end of the digital age before it had even begun. The computer systems all over the world would just break down, the Y2K would cause a virus fatal to every computer and pretty much send us back to the Stone Age. In the end, some computers did break or display the wrong date, but we got past it. Now we've just got to hope that we fix all of this before the year 3000. We've got a little bit of time. Next up at number 7 now, we have Heaven's Gate. Now this one is dumb, but it's also kind of sad for me. See what you guys make of it though. In 1997, the Halley-Bopp comet appeared in the night sky, first time in thousands of years. A whole cult sprang up in San Diego who believed that an alien spacecraft was traveling behind the comet and that they had to get on board because the Earth was about to be wiped clean. They called themselves Heaven's Gate. Now they believed the only way to get to this spaceship was to leave their current vessels behind, which was their bodies. So on March 26, 1997, 39 members of the cult drank poison and died. The leader of the cult was obviously a mentally ill psychopath who made a very dumb prediction. I just feel really bad for the people who went along with it. Alright, next up at number 6 now, we have the Jupiter effect. In the mid 1970s, some people believed that the world was going to end on March 10th, 1982. This would be the date when all of the planets would perfectly align on the same side of the Sun, even Pluto, which was a planet back then. They thought the gravitational effect of all the planets lining up would affect the Earth, leading to huge storms as well as earthquakes and volcanoes, the likes of which we have never seen before, the end of the world. Now all of this came from a book called The Jupiter Effect, the author of which went on to say later that he was sorry he ever had anything to do with it. As you can probably tell from today's date, the world did not end in 1982. Moving on to number 5 now, we have Robert Fitzpatrick. This man belonged to an evangelical group who believed that the world was going to end on May 21st, 2011. Now they had got this information from certain Bible passages and secret codes within them, and Robert decided he wanted to share this news with everyone. He then spent $140,000 of his own money traveling around America to warn other people that on this judgment day the Earth would be swallowed up by fires, earthquakes and tsunamis. He said that only the righteous would be spared this fate by being sucked up into heaven. Robert gained quite a bit of fame in the lead up to this day and decided to prove everyone wrong in public by spending the very last hour in Times Square in New York. Now of course when it didn't happen he was mercilessly mocked by the crowd around him. He just sat there, kind of flicked through his Bible and kept saying he didn't understand why it hadn't happened. This is another one where I do feel kind of sad because this guy obviously had a serious disconnect from reality. Alright, coming out at number 4 now, we have Obama is the Antichrist. A lot of people really like President Obama, some people didn't, but I think everyone can agree he was definitely a human. Well, not everyone, unfortunately. In 2008, when Obama was first elected, an email chain started spreading around the world. It said that according to the Bible, the Antichrist will be a man in his 40s of Muslim descent who will deceive the nations with persuasive language and have a massive Christ-like appeal. The prophecy says that people will flock to him and he will promise false home and world peace, and when he is in power, he will destroy everything. Is it Obama? Now, amazingly, a sizable amount of people actually believe this rubbish, and they really thought that Obama was the Antichrist who would destroy the world. What a sad thought. I'm glad they were wrong. Okay, coming in at number 3 now, we have the Black Rainbow. Jerron Criswell Koenig was a popular American psychic who died in 1982. Now, throughout his life, he made a lot of quite strange predictions. For example, he said there would one day be cannibalism in Pennsylvania and that a great drought would leave New York in ruins. But perhaps his strangest prediction was the Black Rainbow. Criswell said that on Wednesday, August 18th, 1999, every point on Earth would be covered by a black rainbow, the darkest black you can imagine. The black rainbow will then start sucking up the oxygen from our atmosphere like a huge snake suffocating its prey. For the next few hours, we will all grow weaker and weaker as we couldn't breathe, and then we will all go silently, gasping for breath, and there will be only silence on the Earth. Lovely stuff. Well, I had my birthday not long after that day, and I remember the oxygen levels were pretty fine. Had some nice cake too. Alright, moving on to number 2 now, we have Baba Vanga. This Bulgarian woman who died in 1996 had the catchy name of Nostradamus from the Balkans. She made a bunch of different predictions, but one in particular stood out: World War III. She even gave the year this would happen, 2016. She said the continent of Europe would be left almost empty after being turned into a nuclear wasteland, almost entirely devoid of any life forms. I mean, to be fair now, with the way the past few years have been going, a nuclear war hasn't seemed quite so crazy as it used to be. Hopefully, if any of you guys are watching this years from now, things will have calmed down a little bit. But still, she said 2016, so she was wrong, technically. Sorry, Baba. And finally at number 1 now, guys, we have Pat Robertson. He is an American minister who is known for his evangelical Christian TV shows. Now, one of his shows was called The 700 Club, and in late 1976, he made a doomsday prediction on it. He said that in October or November 1982, the world would end. 4 years later, he clarified this by saying, "I guarantee you, by the end of 1982, there is going to be a judgment on the world." Obviously, like everything else on our list, he was sorely mistaken. But it wasn't all doom and gloom. In 2011, Robertson and other people who incorrectly predicted the end of the world were awarded the IG Nobel Prize, teaching the world to be careful when making mathematical assumptions and calculations. Ouch, that's gotta hurt. A little bit of a burn.
Kicking off the list at number 10. VR. The Simpsons didn't predict VR at all. That was a concept that's been around for a long time. It's just now getting good. I mean, recently I got an Oculus, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I felt sick when I tried to use it. I almost threw up. You have to throw items at bad guys. I actually get anxious. My heart races. Olivia straight up cried when she tried it. It's a whole process. This is pretty powerful technology, like this is Black Mirror stuff. The Simpsons predicted that VR could possibly go wrong back in 2016. The episode titled Friends and Family has the town excited over this new tech that's finally arrived, and they're so into it that eventually people are walking in the streets wearing these goggles. They're getting hit by cars, they're losing touch with reality. We see disconnection from reality all the time. We saw it in WALL-E. With Facebook going the virtual route recently with the introduction of the metaverse, I believe that The Simpsons undermined the dangers for this one. You thought pop-ups and sketchy links were bad for children on Facebook? Well, soon we're gonna be walking into this actual virtual website. $3 billion worth of VR was sold during the pandemic. Connection during times like these, I mean, that's great and all, but how far can we really go? Number 9. Mars life. Let me ask you lovely people a question, truly. If you could go to Mars right now with like 3 of your friends, would you actually go? Keep in mind, it's really boring obviously, and unless you're an astronaut, botanist like Matt Damon, odds are you'd probably have a rough go once you did arrive. But in the future, sure, maybe it'll be a round trip, easy. Going to Mars might be as simple as going to the mall. The Simpsons showed a family visit to the big red planet come 2051, but honestly, I think we'll get there a lot sooner. SpaceX is already planning to send people out there. It's crazy, it's happening so fast. It's just a quick 9-month trip there, so make sure your phone's charged. And also you gotta watch out for the galactic cosmic rays. It's actually more beneficial for the team to travel during the peak times around 2030 and 2050 because trips to the planet will be shorter, for one, which is great, and they'll also coincide with periods of solar maximum. So while this one may not come true in 2022, let me tell you, it's definitely around the corner. Number 8. robots. We're at a point now where robots can straight up do parkour. Boston Dynamics is trending every other week. Half the time I can't even tell if their videos are real or if they're CGI. The robots are too impressive. Also, the fact that I'm saying the robots, like where are we right now? What's going on? The Simpsons have touched on robots taking over. That was an idea that's been done a few times. In 2012, they predicted that a great amount of jobs would be lost to the robots. But back in 1994, the Simpsons episode titled Itchy and Scratchy Land showed a theme park full of robots that go crazy and attack civilians. Also, we have Sophia the robot now. She's actually been on talk shows. It's like a real person. She has a citizenship. She's the first robot to receive citizenship from a country. Saudi Arabian citizen. She's a robot. This is real life. She was also on the CNBC saying that she wanted to destroy humans at one point. So that's neat. This could slowly be underway. I mean, I hope not. iRobot is literally one of my biggest fears. The movie predicted self-driving cars. That's all I'm saying.
How can I be of service, Detective Spooner?
Number 7, Dome Sweet Dome. For this one, we're looking at the Simpsons movie, which definitely still holds up. If you haven't seen it, check it out after this video. That's a fun time. But with the pandemic seeming to never end, could we possibly see our own towns domed up? This idea came long before the Simpsons movie. Back in the 70s, there were talks about putting a dome over Manhattan, this 3-kilometer dome over Midtown that regulates weather and pollution. It sounds fun, but imagine if that actually had been built. Imagine what we have been doing with it now during the initial COVID outbreak. Would have been madness. People would have been storming it like a castle. And then in 2010, there was a city planned that was supposed to be built in 2020. It was called Eco City. It was supposed to be built in the Mir mine in Siberia. It was announced in 2014 officially. This climate-controlled dome city, 4.5 square kilometers, but since 2016, the project lost the dome. What do you guys think? Should we use domes over cities, lose the umbrella, and just live in a big glass ball forever? Honestly, I would do it. I'm tired of walking in puddles. Number 6, the World Cup. An episode from 1997 called The Cartridge Family shows Mexico and Portugal going head-to-head in football. Like soccer football, not like football, like a football thing. You got it. Springfield residents are told to go see this match to determine which nation is the greatest on Earth, Mexico or Portugal. So in 2018, when the World Cup rolled around, pun intended, fans were excited that this was actually coming true. But at the same time, they had to laugh, determining that Ronaldo must have missed that penalty intentionally so that the prediction would come true. Although I think that was just a mistake. But recently, it's been announced that Qatar will host the tournament in November, December 2022, rather than the usual June, July dates. Another World Cup, another chance for the Simpsons to add another prediction to their impressive list. Number 5, flying cars. We've been talking about flying cars for so long, I wouldn't even call this a Simpsons prediction anymore, but they've nailed it before, so who knows. 2022 could be the year we say goodbye to tires forever. In 2005, Professor Fink created this machine to let Bart and Lisa see the future. The future at that point was 2013, which is long since passed, but Marge had left Homer because he spent all their savings on an underwater house. But also in this episode, we see hover cars. Come 2017, the concept of a futuristic hover car was revealed. It's called Float, the Renault car of the future. So come 2022, we might not see these exactly, but we might get an even cooler version. We might get this 6-person hover car. That's like something that Fantastic Four rolls around with. Are you kidding me? It's called the Cyclocar. I'm absolutely going to get my license just for this. Number 4, music control. You ever listen to an album and it's so good that it moves you? Sometimes it'll literally move you, right? You have to go and bop around in the kitchen for a bit, get all those beats out. But what if music moved you in like a Pied Piper kind of way? What if next time you heard the cha-cha slide at a wedding, you had to do the cha-cha slide? In 2001, an episode called New Kids on the Bleak showed Bart in a band that was secretly a mind control device for the Navy. Subliminal messaging through music. Love it. One of their most popular tracks was called Drop Da Bomb, so obviously it was a bit more obvious where they're going. But this isn't a new idea either. Many people have thought that hip-hop brainwashes people. Even The Game, like the artist The Game, believes that the internet is brainwashing people into enjoying whack music, as he says. That's a quote. It's a real-life quote from a real artist. What do we think? Are we slowly being brainwashed through music? I mean, every time I open TikTok, I end up hating another classic that I loved once, so maybe it's just we're seeing it too much? Also, I love how hip-hop is like the center of attention for brainwashing the youth. No, it's literally like, yeah, I got 4 jobs, I make bank, I don't sleep, I work my ass off. Meanwhile, other genres are like, I think he's cheating on me, you should go through his phone. Number 3, VR food. The Simpsons had their 600th episode centered around VR. As I mentioned earlier, it's a pretty big deal. It's a technology that's changing lives, really. And those midnight snacks might get a whole lot better in the future, apparently. I swear to God, one time when I was dozing off watching TV, I tried to eat food that wasn't there. I tried to half asleep and eat food. It was the dumbest thing I've ever done, but could you imagine if a pizza pocket just magically appeared in your hand in the middle of the night? Well, the Simpsons predict that this virtual reality food might just be a thing. Scientists at Cornell University found out that cheese tastes better when you eat it in a certain pleasant VR setting. So if you see me eating shredded cheese at 2 a.m. naked with goggles on in my room, leave me alone, okay? Don't judge me. I'm in Paris. I'm dining out. I'm having a culinary experience. Shut the door on your way out of Paris. Get out of my room. Number 2, digital Big Ben. You ever look at a clock with like, hands and all that jazz, and it takes you a while to actually read it? You're like doing addition. You're like, hey, is that a 2 or a 3? Where's that hand? Why is there 4 hands? Some timepieces need to be digital, right? Middle of the night, you can't see time. You're looking over to see how long you've been asleep for. You can't look at hands and all that jazz. Also, when you go to a wedding, you're not wearing a digital wristwatch, right? You know what I mean? You're not a spy kid. You're not gonna be timing people doing laps. You're trying to look good. You're trying to keep it classy. The Big Ben, I hope, never goes digital, but never say never. In an episode from 1995, the future shows Lisa traveling to England to meet her future husband's parents, and the Big Ben is digital at this point. Now, today, construction is still being done on the Big Ben, and we won't hear its chimes until next summer, but can you imagine when they finally reveal it, instead of a chime, you hear a beep? Imagine every hour you get a notification instead of hearing those lovely bells. I'd lose my mind. And finally, number 1, hologram mail. Coming from season 11, episode 17, Bart to the Future, we get another tease at some future tech. A mailman gives Bart a letter, but it packs quite the punch. Bart opens it up and the letter is, well, it's 4D. It's like a hologram person. It's almost like Star Wars. Honestly, since I saw Star Wars when I was a little tot, I always wanted that technology in my life. That would be amazing. VR food sounds delicious, but hologram mail, that would save lives. I would send so many letters to my friends and family. I'd wear a cloak in all of them too, and I'd be so ominous. And I would never click stop. I would just stand there and walk out of frame. You know what I mean? That's how all the villains do it. If we get virtual mail, that would lead us to virtual packages. No more shipping fees? Oh, can you imagine? But also, no more eagerly awaiting your package that's been delayed for 2 weeks. We can actually use this. This is great. This is the future we've been waiting for. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Most Amazing Top 10. I've been your host, Taylor McWaters. Those are some Simpsons predictions. Comment down below which ones I've missed, and we'll see you next time. Peace.